What's going on, Legionnaires, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, and make sure you're not missing any of the content we have coming out. Now, for this issue, we're going to be diving into our Indie Comics weekend, where we cover an indie comic every single weekend. And this video is going to be covering Judas Breed. Now, we covered issue number 1 last week. If you didn't catch up with that, go ahead and check out the link in my description. It'll get you completely caught up on that issue. And also, if you were not aware, this is currently in Kickstarter for issues number 4 and 5. We're going to be covering issue number 3 next week. So you guys will be completely caught up. You can go ahead, go check out that Kickstarter. You can get issues number 4 and 5 so you can read them yourself. They're absolutely phenomenal covers, phenomenal artwork, and he promises a lot of amazing stuff to come. You can find the Kickstarter link in my description as well. Now, this is written and created by Kenneth A. Brown, illustrated by Ryan Best, and lettered by HDE. And with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright guys, so this issue picks us up exactly where we left off in issue number 1. And we have Tony and Kevin, and these two are sitting at the controls trying to figure out what's going on because an alarm is going off. An alarm coming from the cargo bay, where Connie and Linda currently are. Now, not knowing what's going on, assuming that something is obviously wrong, Kevin heads off. He heads down to the cargo room and tries to figure out what's going on. And as he's headed down there, he runs into Greg. And he lets Greg know that, the scanners are showing a fire down in the cargo room. And Greg lets him know, if there is a fire, that needs to be our main priority. A fire on a spaceship is literally worst case scenario. That's the last thing you want on a spaceship. And that's your first priority, is to be able to put that out. And so they make their way to the cargo room, but there's no fire. There's no flames, there's no smoke. And so at first they're confused, but then they see Connie. They see Linda with this thing on her back. Asking what happened, she lets them know that that fossil, it came to life and it attached itself to her. Now, as these two help her up, they get her over to a table. Connie goes and gets Dr. Bradley. Now we see her laying on the medical table, and Dr. Bradley comes into the room completely unaware of exactly what he's about to get himself into. And as he inspects this thing a little more closely, he's not even sure if he can get it off because he doesn't even know what the freak it is. So it's not something he is going to touch at all. He's not going to do it. He thinks it's best that the medical team on Olympus take care of this, deal with it, because it's just so far out of his expertise right now. But the issue is that's 24 hours away, and she may not have that much time. And so the doctor agrees. He says he's going to do it, but if anything goes wrong, the blood's going to be on her hands. Now, Kevin leaves the room here. He can't stomach what's about to happen. This is pretty horrific to watch in general and see this thing attached to her. So, you can't blame the man for doing this. You wouldn't blame anybody. But they begin. They start their surgery trying to detach this parasite from her. And as they're slowly trying to remove it, Linda starts to make some noises. And as she makes some noises, we see her lift her body up from the table, eyes blackened like the darkest night, begging for somebody to help her. And this obviously freaks everybody out. They quickly back away from her as fast as they can. And they're all asking her, what's going on, what's happening? And we see her get up from the table and she's transforming. She's transforming into some kind of monster. It's tearing from her skin, exposing muscle and veins and blood. And this is where we see her instinctively attack Greg, going immediately for his jugular. We're seeing her slowly transform into a hideous monster that looks like she's about to murder the entire crew. And this is when the doctor runs over and gets something which we can only assume is going to knock her out. He fills up a syringe full of it and tells Connie that it's going to knock her out. It's going to put her down. And then in the midst of all of this, we see her bite Greg's neck. Not just a little bite, she tears at it, and we see him dead on the ground. And she does the same to Dr. Bentley. And this is when Connie rushes over to grab the syringe that had fallen to the ground. Now Kevin, hearing all of this commotion, runs in there as fast as he can to see what's transpiring, only to see Linda beginning to attack Connie. But this is definitely not Linda anymore. This is a monster. This is something something out of your worst nightmares. Because whatever was Linda is no longer. This parasite has taken over her and it's transforming her body into some kind of crazy creature that has a mouth inside of a mouth. And as she goes and lunges at Connie, Connie's able to get the syringe into her chest, almost instantly knocking her out. But not before she's able to shoot some kind of toxin dart at Connie, and it hits her dead in the leg. But this fight has been won. Linda is currently unconscious, though they have dead bodies lying around now. Tony comes in the room to help out, and they think, the best option here right now is to get her into the freeze. Put her into cryo. Wait till we get to Olympus and let them handle this situation. And that's exactly what they do. They get her into the pod, they lock her in, and they freeze her. Now this will keep her at least in this stasis until they get to Olympus. And while all of this is transpiring, we see Connie fall to the ground. She faints because her wound is severe, and they have to pull down her pants only to reveal that this toxin has spread. It is spreading through her leg and it is only getting worse. Some kind of infection has got a hold of her. Now this is where we pick up a little bit later, and the ship is pulling in to Olympus Station. And as they come in and land this ship, they are immediately greeted by a welcoming party. A welcoming party made up of some military individuals, some scientists, and a Dr. Lee. Now, Dr. Lee greets them, but lets them know that they're gonna have to retrieve both of the women, both Connie and Linda, for observation. And the military men, they immediately go in and start doing this. And this is when we meet Alex Hunter, military intelligence. And he really just tells them, your friends, they're now military property. That they're going to be overseeing their care until the arrival on Earth. And those two, they're going to be escorted to a conference room so they can get a little bit of questions answered to what the freak happened up there. Now, these two are sitting in the room, patiently waiting for something to happen, but they also know that they're kind of in the hornet's nest at this point. This is top secret stuff, and they can only imagine what's going to happen from here. Now, as they're being watched from another room by Mr. Hunter, he tells his associate, Angela, that it's best these two be killed. There can't be any evidence of what happened to this ship. And this is where we see Angela bring in some food. She sets it down and lets these guys start munching down on some coffee and donuts. But as soon as they start eating it, they collapse. They've been poisoned and they are dead as soon as the donut had hit their mouth. Now for Connie, they've taken her to some kind of other pod. A pod where they have to put her in this very unique suit. Some kind of infusion unit. It's very vague on the details of what exactly this is. But whatever it is, it's not cheap and it's very, very high-tech stuff. Now this is when we're taken to Alex Hunter a little bit later that evening. And Dr. Lee is coming into the room to have a discussion. Because right now, Mr. Hunter's going over pretty much her file. Everything that she's done, everything that she's messed up on, and reasons that she may be here now. Now she is working on a project. The idea was to help people suffering from brain trauma. She really truly believed that she would have been able to crack the code if the board had allowed her more time. But two of the individuals ended up killing two doctors and a scientist. And so because of this, the board had sent her here until everything could really kind of blow over. But this is when Hunter lets her know that they're going to be funding her entire project. The military is. Every single bit of it. Giving her everything she needs to get the work done. Now, at first this confuses her. Why would the military be interested in her work? But this is when Mr. Hunter lets her know that they're losing a war. This isn't the first time that they've seen these monsters on their shores. That they've seen them, but now they want to concentrate on the transformation that Linda is going through. They want to let it continue. They want to see it completed. And the doctor is 100% on board with doing this. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think about this. I personally am really loving it. It's a really fun issue. It's definitely a unique story. I've read issue 3 already, and I can tell you what comes next is absolutely freaking phenomenal. And I'm really hoping that this story ends up on Earth, because that would just be the top notch of everything. I would love to see that really come to life. But if it stays in space, I'm also okay with that. I'm also okay with seeing how all of this plays out, especially now that they're on Olympus and they have a bunch of military high-tech individuals. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. How are you liking this? How are you liking it so far? Is it something that you think you might pick up? Do you think the story has the originality I say it does? Give me your thoughts. If you want to check it out, be sure to check out that Kickstarter. Like I said before, the link is down in my description. Issues number 4 and 5. And as usual, be sure to hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, and until the next breakdown.